Old Befana. Now in some places, this woman's name is Babushka. Shoop, shoop, shoop. Old Befana swept the floor. Shoop, shoop, shoop. She swept out the breadcrumbs. Shoop, shoop, shoop. Old Befana swept up every bit of dirt, every tumbling dust ball, and every little crumb. Old Befana's house was spotless, and her front step too, and the path leading down to the road. Sweeping was all that old Befana did. It was all that old Befana loved, and so she was annoyed when early one morning, in the midst of her sweeping, she was interrupted by a loud bang, bang, bang on her door. She opened the door, the broom still in her hand, and she was greeted by 3 tall, tired strangers. "We have travelled all night," said the first stranger. "We are following a star," explained the second. "And we need somewhere to sleep," begged the third. Old Befana looked at the 3 men. They were very well dressed. There were jewels in their hats and on their gowns and on the chains that hung around their necks. They could have been rich merchants or wizards or kings. In any case, they didn't look like robbers. And as for her sweeping, well, the bedroom had already been swept for the day, so she nodded her head and welcomed them in. She showed them the way to the bedroom, and when she looked in later, she saw that they were all 3 in bed together and fast asleep, with the covers pulled right up to their chins. Old Befana returned to her sweeping. Shoop, 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 she swept the kitchen. Shoop, 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 she swept the living room too. Shoop, 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 she swept the step and the path down to the road. And all the while she swept, she wondered, where do they come from? Where are they going? And why do they sleep all day? So when at last the 3 strangers stirred, she asked them. "We came from the east," said the first stranger, "and travelled all night." "We are following a star," said the second. "A star that will lead us to the King of all kings," explained the third. "A king who is but a little child." Then the 3 strangers made old Befana a most unusual offer. "Since you have been so kind to us," began the first stranger, "and since you have given us a place to rest," continued the second, "we would like you to come with us," said the third, "to see this king and to bring him gifts." Old Befana was so surprised that she nearly dropped her broom. What an adventure, she thought, to follow a star and find a king. But then she looked at her broom and she looked around her house, and it didn't take her long to imagine how dusty everything would be if she went and if she stopped sweeping even for one day. So she sadly shook her head and said, "No, thank you," and the 3 strangers walked off into the night. Old Befana went to sleep, but her dreams were interrupted by visions of strangers and stars and kings. The next morning she picked up her broom as usual, but try as she might, she could not keep her mind off her sweeping. Shoop, 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 she swept the living room, but all she could think of was the stranger's invitation. Shoop, shoop, she swept the kitchen. But all she could think of was that wandering star. Shoop, she swept the front step. But all she could think of was the little king, who was down that road, somewhere in a house with a path and a step just like hers. And that's when she decided she would follow the strangers after all. So, with the broom in one hand and her apron full of little gifts, she set off down the road. She walked and she walked. She searched and she searched. But sadly, Old Befana never did find the three strangers. So they say now that she's walking still, with a broom in one hand and with her apron full of gifts. And each Christmas she walks up every path, climbs up every step and visits every house. And wherever she finds a child, she leaves a little gift. For she never can be certain which of these children is the king of all kings.